You never hear them coming. That's not a metaphor. It's a design specification. The boots are soft-soled, the weapons are suppressed, the communications are encrypted and frequency hopping so fast that even if someone is listening, they hear nothing but static. You are a ghost by training, a ghost by doctrine, and in most official records, a ghost by legal necessity. Because the operation you are currently running does not exist. The country that sent you will deny you. The men who planned your mission will delete the emails. And if you die tonight, and there is a real chance you die tonight, your family will receive a flag, a handshake, and a cover story. This is not a movie. This is not a recruitment poster. This is what special operations actually looks like, from the inside of both the world's most powerful military machine and the one it has been measuring itself against for nearly a century. If you've ever wondered what separates the operators from the soldiers, the Tier 1 units from the Tier 2, the acknowledged from the unacknowledged, stick with our Pav, because this breakdown goes all the way to the bottom. On one side, you have the United States Special Operations Command, SOCOM, the umbrella organization that coordinates every special operations unit, the American military fields. It was formally established in 1987, but the units under it go back decades further. Its annual budget is classified at the highest levels, but public estimates put it above $13 billion per year. It commands roughly 70,000 personnel across all branches. And within that structure, nested inside layers of classification and operational security, sit the units that the Pentagon barely admits exist. On the other side, you have Russia's Special Operations Apparatus, a system that is older, leaner, more brutal in its selection, and deliberately more deniable than its American counterpart. It is not one organization. It is a web of overlapping agencies, military directorates, intelligence services, and private contractors that can execute a political assassination in Salisbury, England, and simultaneously run direct action raids in Syria, while officially denying both. The Russian state has turned ambiguity into a weapon, and the men who carry that weapon are some of the most dangerous human beings alive. Let's start with what you actually know, and then get to what you don't. The best-known American Special Operations Force is the United States Army Special Forces, the Green Berets. They were founded in 1952, and their core mission has never changed. Unconventional warfare. You are not there to blow things up. You are there to walk into a foreign country, find the people who want to fight for something, and turn a ragtag resistance into a functioning guerrilla army. Your tools are language. Green Berets are required to be fluent in the language of their operational region, cultural intelligence, psychological persuasion, and an almost inhuman patience. A Green Beret team can live embedded with a local population for months, building trust, training fighters, mapping social networks. You are not the tip of the spear. You are the hand that sharpens it. Each 12-man Operational Detachment Alpha, an ODA or A-team, is designed to be entirely self-sufficient. You have 2 officers, 2 weapons sergeants, 2 engineer sergeants, 2 medical sergeants, 2 communications sergeants, and 2 intelligence sergeants. Any one of those teams can plan and execute a full-spectrum special operations mission without outside support. They have done it in the Philippines, in Colombia, in Mali, in Syria, in places that will never appear in any published history. Then there are the Rangers. The 75th Ranger Regiment is 3 battalions, roughly 3,600 soldiers, designed for a completely different purpose. Where the Green Berets build, the Rangers destroy. They are precision raid specialists, direct action, airfield seizure, hostage rescue support, high-value target capture or kill. They can deploy anywhere in the world within 18 hours. That is the standing requirement. And they can fight from the moment they hit the ground. The physical and tactical standard to be a Ranger is among the highest in the conventional military. But within the special operations community, the Rangers are still considered the entry point. They are where the upper tier recruits from. Above the Rangers sit the units that the Department of Defense still debates whether to confirm publicly. The 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta Force, was founded in 1977 by Colonel Charles Beckwith, a man who had trained with the British SAS and came back convinced the American military needed something like it. Delta's primary mission is counter-terrorism, hostage rescue, high-value target operations. They are the unit called when every other unit is not enough. Their selection process rejects roughly 90% of applicants, men who were already Ranger qualified, Special Forces qualified, among the best soldiers in the Army. The ones who passed the final selection board, a psychological evaluation so thorough it has ended the careers of physically perfect candidates, are then put through an 18 to 24-month individual training course that is classified in its entirety. You don't join Delta. Delta chooses you. And even after it chooses you, it can unchoose you at any point. There are no permanent assignments. There are only performance reviews that never stop, the naval equivalent. And the rivalry between the two units is real, documented, and occasionally spectacular. Is SEAL Team 6, formerly known as Naval Special Warfare Development Group, or DevGRU. It was founded in 1980 by Richard Marcinko, a man whose career trajectory from operator to commander to federal prisoner tells you everything you need to know about the culture he built. DevGRU is organized into color-coded assault squadrons: red, blue, gold, silver, and the less discussed black, which handles reconnaissance and intelligence. Their missions overlap significantly with Delta's. They have run operations together, competed for the same targets, and occasionally clashed over credit in ways that would be comical if the stakes weren't so extreme. The Bin Laden raid in 2011 was a DevGRU operation. Red Squadron, specifically authorized directly by the president, planned in secret for months and executed in 38 minutes. Above both Delta and DevGRU, or more precisely alongside them, sits the intelligence support activity. The ISA, sometimes called the activity, sometimes called by classified program names that change every few years specifically to avoid recognition. The ISA does the work that makes Delta and DevGRU possible. They are the collectors, the human intelligence specialists, the signals intercept operators who go into denied areas before the shooters arrive and build a targeting picture from nothing. They are small. Estimates range from 300 to 500 personnel, and they are among the most classified human beings the American government employs. The CIA's contribution to this architecture is the Special Activities Center, specifically its Special Operations Group called SAD/SOG. These are not military personnel. They are paramilitary officers, many of them former Delta or DevGRU, who operate entirely outside the military chain of command. Their legal authority comes directly from a presidential finding. They need no declaration of war, no congressional authorization, no public acknowledgement. They were the first Americans into Afghanistan after September 11th, arriving before any military unit, linking up with Northern Alliance commanders, calling in airstrikes, and shaping the battlefield that the conventional military inherited. If you want to know who is running the most sensitive operations in the most politically complex environments, the ones where even military special operations would create too much accountability, it is usually them. Now cross the line. Russia's special operations structure is not a mirror of America's. It is something older, something that evolved under a completely different logic, not the logic of democratic accountability, where even classified programs can eventually be exposed through congressional oversight, inspector general reports, or a journalist with a source inside the building. Russian special operations evolved under the logic of total deniability, where the state's goal is not just to complete the mission, but to ensure the mission can never be proven to have existed. That is a different design requirement, and it produces a different kind of operator. The word you know is Spetsnaz, Specjalnoye Nazначение, special purpose. But Spetsnaz is not one unit. It is a category, the way Special Forces describes a category in the American system. Under that umbrella, you have units from the military, units from the FSB, units from the GRU, and units from the Russian National Guard. The Rosgvardia, each with distinct missions, distinct authorities, and distinct relationships with the Kremlin. The oldest and most storied of these are the GRU Spetsnaz brigades, the Military Intelligence Service's Special Purpose Forces. There are 8 of them, numbered and regionally assigned, and they were designed originally for one mission: go deep behind NATO lines before a conventional war begins, find the nuclear weapons, and destroy them. That was the Cold War mandate. In the post-Cold War era, they became the blunt instrument for Russia's dirty wars. Chechnya, Georgia, Syria, Ukraine, doing the work that conventional forces either couldn't do or that the Kremlin preferred not to attribute. In Syria, GRU Spetsnaz units were confirmed operating in direct combat as early as 2015, conducting raids, calling in airstrikes, and doing terminal guidance for Russian aircraft, while official Russian statements insisted there were no combat troops on the ground. Then there is the FSB's Alpha Group, Alpha, founded in 1974 and specifically designed for counterterrorism and hostage rescue. On paper, it is Russia's equivalent of Delta Force or DEVGRU. In practice, it has been used for things neither of those units would ever be assigned. In 1979, Alpha operators were among the men who assassinated Afghan President Hafizullah Amin as the opening move of the Soviet invasion, a direct-action political killing ordered by the Kremlin and executed by what was ostensibly a counterterrorism unit. In 2002, Alpha led the response to the Moscow theater hostage crisis, where Chechen militants had taken 850 people. They pumped an aerosolized chemical agent, never officially identified, though evidence pointed toward a fentanyl derivative, into the ventilation system before storming the building. The militants were killed. So were 130 hostages, almost all of them from the gas. The operation was declared a success. You sit with that number, 130 civilians, dead from the rescue operation, and the official position is that it worked. Alongside Alpha operates Vimpel Vega Group, the FSB's other Tier 1 unit, originally designed for nuclear facility protection and now deeply involved in sabotage operations, infrastructure targeting, and what Russian doctrine calls active measures. If Alpha is the surgical unit, Vimpel is the wrench. Their operators are technically trained in demolitions, chemical and radiological handling, critical infrastructure attack and defense, in ways that have no American equivalent within a single unit. And then there is the unit that most people outside of intelligence circles did not know existed until bodies started appearing in European cities as GRU Unit 29155. It was identified publicly through the investigative work of Bellingcat and the Insider in the years following the 2018 Salisbury poisoning. The operation in which 2 GRU officers traveled to England, visited Sergei Skripal, a former Russian intelligence officer, and left behind enough military-grade Novichok nerve agent on his front door handle to kill him and anyone else who touched it. Skripal survived. A British civilian, Dawn Sturgis, who later came into contact with the agent, did not. Unit 29155's apparent mission is foreign assassination, political destabilization, and what the Russian security establishment calls influence operations with kinetic components. They are not a raid unit. They are not a hostage rescue unit. They are the people the Kremlin sends when it wants someone to stop existing. Here is where the comparison becomes genuinely unsettling, not because one side is more dangerous than the other, but because they are dangerous in completely different ways that expose the blind spots in each system. American special operations are extraordinarily capable in environments where you have permissive or semi-permissive access, where the host government knows you're there, or at least tolerates your presence. JSOC and SOCOM have essentially unlimited resources, extraordinary technology, and a generation of operators who have more combat repetitions than any special operations force in human history. The post-9/11 era produced American special operators who have run more raids, collected more intelligence, and engaged more high-value targets than their Cold War predecessors could have imagined. But that machinery requires infrastructure, bases, intelligence networks, logistics chains. It is not built for the kind of operation where the entire mission needs to disappear, where the dead man in a London hotel needs to look like a heart attack, and the person who caused it needs to be on a commercial flight home before the coroner arrives. Russian special operations are purpose-built for the opposite. They are optimized for deniability in ways that require accepting significant limitations in capability, equipment, and support. A GRU Spetsnaz unit going into a politically sensitive environment does not bring the ISR support, the close air support, the quick reaction force, and the medevac chain that a JSOC element would consider minimum requirements. They go with what they can carry, they do what they were told, and they come back, or they don't, and officially they were never there. The Kremlin's ability to absorb the loss of operators without political consequence is a genuine strategic asset. No congressional hearing, no gold star families on television, no accountability architecture at all. What you are looking at when you examine these two systems side by side is a reflection of the governments that built them. One system is accountable enough that its classified programs can be exposed, investigated, and occasionally prosecuted. The other is deniable enough that its operators can commit murders in allied capitals, and the official response is to issue a statement calling the accusations Russophobic. Both systems are effective. Both systems have caused significant harm to people who were not combatants. Both systems believe completely in what they are doing. The operators on both sides believe they are the necessary answer to the threats the other side poses. You are one of those operators. You have been selected, trained, shaped by a system that decided you were the right instrument for the right problem. You have cleared rooms in places that do not appear on your official service record. You have made decisions in fractions of seconds that lawyers will never fully understand. You have seen things that will not leave you. And you believe, you have to believe, or none of it makes sense, that what you do matters, that the missions were worth the cost, that the men you lost were not wasted. Maybe that's true. Maybe it isn't. The honest answer is that the people making the decisions are rarely the ones paying the price. That is not a phenomenon unique to special operations, but it is concentrated here, in these units, among these men, in a way that is harder to look away from when you understand what they are actually being asked to do. Somewhere right now, a selection course is running. In the mountains of North Carolina, in the forests outside of Riazan, in training facilities that appear on no public map, young men who have already proven themselves exceptional are discovering what it means to be pushed past the boundary of what they thought was their limit. Most of them will not make it. The ones who do will be handed a set of skills and pointed at a world that has not stopped producing problems that require those skills. And the cycle doesn't end. It never ends. It just changes the names on the doors and the patches on the shoulders and the flags that get folded at the funerals that don't make the news.